Saan mo na ang pilit? Lumpia wrapper. Ang lumpia wrapper, kinahanglan basa. Aron mo pilit, muguot. Akong dapos nimo, kinahanglan og basa nga halo. Aron kita, mo pilit, muguot. Kato lang. Kato lang isa, salamat. Pero napay isa nga. Murag yun. Pero naman lumpia ba? Kanang murag yung tao nimo. Napay isa nga gibuhat nga balak. English ni, nahitabo ni siya tong Friday, tong Biyernes, sa isa sa ako ang mga estudyante.
Teacher, may tanong. Ako po sa
Wala ko na-memorize kay karong Biyernes.
Mama. Nandok, mama.
When your voice must travel. When your voice must travel, make sure it is a whisper. I urged one student to stand and speak. He was timid and disobliging, but I knew he was something. I told him, make your voice heard. Make it louder. Scream if you must. But he was too nervous. He cannot even stand properly. I urged more. Be a man. Convince us. Make us believe. Until I saw his lips and his jaws were shaking. There was obvious moisture in the sides of his eyes. I urged further. Be a man! I ask you to speak, not to cry. You're not a kindergarten anymore. Bright students who were seated whispered to be urged like that. They whispered to themselves the things that they would have said if it were them in that boy's predicament. Come on! You're mute now? Weak! For a moment, I thought I must be bullying him already. That this was a terrible mistake. That this person's parents may come rushing the next day and report me to the principal and move to revoke my license. I walked slowly away from him. Away until I reached the back of the room. In protest, he asked, "Why are you moving away? That is why you can't hear me." I stopped walking. He has stricken me. I turned to him with eager eyes and said in stark clarity, "Exactly! Now speak again in such a manner." I saw in his eyes that he understood what he and I did. Voices travel. And when voices travel nicely when they are loud, but even more effective when they are hushed. I wonder why misunderstandings happen. Wrong intensities must have been placed in wrong words. Okay, fine, alright, tell me, what do I have to do? I'm doing everything I can because I don't understand. Look at me when I talk to you. Why don't you speak to me? Leave me alone. Okay, fine, alright, tell me, what do I have to do? I'm doing everything I can because I don't understand. Look at me when I talk to you. Why don't you speak to me? Leave me alone. Voices travel, and they travel nicely when loud, but even more effective when hushed. When my father screamed at me that he would kill me with his fists, I was afraid. But I was more afraid with the thought of forgetting that he is my father. But I was more afraid of the thought of forgetting that he was my father, that one day on his deathbed, he would no longer be able to speak the words, "I'm sorry." When I would finally come back from years of silence. I was scared by my mother's wailings when she would feel agony on her joints. But I never really knew what being scared was until I saw her being silenced by the thought of dying one night when she could no longer speak or breathe. Voices travel, and when they travel nicely, when loud, but even more effective when hushed. When you told me that you loved me, I believed you. When we sat without talking for hours, watching the waves crash with the sand in silence, I knew you were telling the truth. When I asked you if you loved somebody else, there were no words. But the silence as you look away was too loud, but it was unbelievable not to hear it. You turned your back, and in silence I knew there was someone new. Voices travel, and they travel nicely when loud, but even more effective when hushed. People ask me why I wouldn't laugh as hard as they can, as hard as they do. Why am I always serious and silent and would talk only if asked? You see, I know the hushed tones of drops, cracking rocks, and recurrence. I know the silence of a brewing storm, the commotion of ant colonies underneath, the silence of water when its deep calmness of carcass decomposing, quietness of two souls distancing. My student has since talked loudly and clearly. He has now shared and spoke of sense and merit. Indeed, he has learned how to be heard. I must have taught him well. One day I saw him shouting toward his Maruya vendor mother. With stark clarity and loudness, I heard he said that he regretted being born from a vendor mother. Voices travel, no matter how loud or hushed. When it reaches someone, it cannot go back. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Before we end our second set, bigyan naman po natin ng masigawang palakpakan ng lahat ng nag-perform. Of course, Kevin, Clang, Claudette, Enzo, Earl, Frank, Carlo, and Marley. And, eto, let's have another jammer. So, she will not just serenade us, but she will also share one of her poems. Let's welcome Miss Shaira Opsimar.